Hello, you join me in the Nissan Micra. I never thought I'd say those words, but the new one does look pretty funky. But what's it like to drive? Well, let's find out. Let's get my seat adjusted like so. This is for a Tekna model. So it comes fully loaded. I've got the infotainment system, got climate control, cruise control, and so forth. Right, there we go. Okay, right, let's set off and I'll tell you what this car is like. So this is a first drive video. So this will only be my initial impressions. Steering feels pretty light. Mind you, in fairness, I have just stepped out of a Civic Type R, so anything after that is going to feel pretty light. Okay, so what engine does this have? Well, this has got the 0.9 litre petrol engine, 3 cylinders, turbocharged of course, like a lot of small engines nowadays. So it produces 89 brake horsepower, with 140 Newton meters of torque. It will hit 62 miles per hour in 12.1 seconds, and the top speed is 109 miles per hour. But obviously, this car is not built for speed, is it? But it doesn't mean that it's going to be a boring car to drive. Well, let's hope not anyway. Now, previous Micras, they have not appealed to me in any shape or form. They've looked cute and inoffensive, but it's the kind of car that Doris would use to go down to Morrison's to get some food for the cat. But this model, this looks pretty funky. This looks pretty striking if you ask me. It's even got a steering wheel with a flat bottom. Who'd have thought it in a Micra? No. So like my Honda Civic Type R video, I'm afraid a lot of the footage from this drive was lost, but thankfully once again I have been able to get some clips directly from the manufacturer. The inside is quite a nice place to be. You've got leather on the centre console and on the dash. Actually, I'll tell you what, I really like the leather there. That does look rather nice. Yeah, there's some hard plastics here and there, actually quite a lot of hard plastics, but the leather does help to break it up, and I do rather like that. Gives it a nice premium touch. These seats are also rather quite nice, and this model has got the BOSE Personal sound system as well, so if you're a bit of an audiophile, if you like your tracks, then this is definitely a super mini to have a look at. So the dash hasn't got too many buttons, everything's laid out quite well, it's quite self-explanatory, so each button is marked for what it does. So CD is obviously CD player, it's a bit outdated. Anyway, we've got media, radio, navigation as well. Buttons do feel a tad cheap if I'm going to be honest, but everything seems to work quite well. Let's pop it back on the nav, actually pop it back on the map. So as I've mentioned, this is the range-topping Tekna model, but what do you actually get for that? Well, it's priced from £17,435 and you get 17-inch alloys, leather steering wheel with leather gear knob, keyless entry, rear view camera with rear parking sensors, BOSE Personal audio system, which comes with 2 speakers in the driver's headrest. You also get privacy glass, climate control, 7-inch touchscreen with navigation and Bluetooth and smartphone connectivity, cruise control, plus you get safety features such as lane departure warning and intelligent lane intervention, autonomous emergency braking, and that means that the car has been able to get a 5-star safety rating from Euro NCAP. But interestingly, even in the top of a range model, you don't get rear electric windows. Right, okay, so initial impressions, quite a smooth car to drive. The gear change does feel a little bit loose. Does feel, don't know, doesn't feel fantastic if I'm going to be honest. Right, okay, so pop it into 5th. So this car is mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox, which, as I've said, the throws aren't fantastic. They're not particularly bad, but just feels a little bit loose if I'm going to be completely honest. There's a bit of road noise, not too much wind noise. Actually, there's more road noise than I was expecting. So off the top of my head, I'm not too sure what alloys this car is running on. I would anticipate they're probably 16-inch. But like I say, the tyre noise is louder than I was expecting if I'm going to be honest. But the ride is good. Now these roads aren't particularly awful, but so far the ride is very compliant. It's very smooth, which is quite nice. What you need in a super mini. Right, I can't tell you about handling yet because we're yet to get to any serious bends. The steering has got heavier as I've got faster, but still on the light side. It means that the car is easy to manoeuvre, of course, but the car so far hasn't quite got the driving dynamics of cars such as the new Ford Fiesta or the new Seat Ibiza. It's not particularly bad, and let's see what it's like when we get it on some faster roads and some nice country bends and see what's what. Right, let's drop it down as third, see what the acceleration's like. Not bad. The engine makes this whiny noise that I'm not really a big fan of. Now, some 3-cylinder units, they can make a pretty decent noise. Cars such as the Ford Fiesta with the EcoBoost engine, and also the Suzuki Swift with its booster jet engine. But the engine in this, it's not really my cup of tea. That sound is yeah, not to my taste. But the delivery's not too bad. It's not quite as good as the EcoBoost engine or other 3-cylinder units, but it's not bad by any means either. Right, got a bit of a bend coming up. Let's see what this car's like. Okay, a bit of body roll, not too much. Steering hasn't got a lot of feel to it, if I'm going to be honest. And it still feels pretty light. I think one of the best attributes of this car's handling is definitely the grip. I know that the car was developed with the help of an F1 driver as well, and there's a lot of development done with Bridgestone in regards to getting the tyres right. And that has worked wonders, I have to say. The grip is impressive. At speed, it feels pretty stable. Feels planted actually. The brakes haven't got a lot of feel in them. You need to depress the pedal quite far before you're ready to start to slow down. Clutch pedal feels quite high, if I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of that. So in regards to economy, because I'm sure many of you will want to know about that, on a combined run you're looking at 61.4 miles to the gallon, and in regards to CO2 you're looking at 104 grams per kilometre. So the new Micra won't cost the earth to run. Okay, it's not quite as frugal as its competitors, but it's not too far behind either. But if you do want more economy, then you can look to have the 1.5 litre diesel, which offers 88.3 miles to the gallon with 92 grams per kilometre of CO2 emissions. With it being a Super Mini, it needs to be practical. I'm afraid the space in the back isn't fantastic. So if you're looking for a Super Mini that is able to offer a good amount of room in the back, I'd recommend the new Seat Ibiza. But on the plus side, the boot is of a good size. It's 300 litres, which is bigger than the Ford Fiesta and the Volkswagen Polo. Okay, it's not class leading, but it should be more than enough to cope with everyday family life. Now, as you can probably tell so far, this car hasn't really blown me away. I must admit, I did have quite high hopes for this car, but having driven the new Swift and the new Fiesta and the new Ibiza, I'm not too sure on this car. Maybe I need to spend longer with it, because like I say, half an hour isn't a fantastic amount of time to spend with any car to really get to know it. But so far, this hasn't blown my socks off. Now don't get me wrong, it's not an awful car, not by any means, but I don't know, it's lacking something. Now at this point I should really pay the car some compliments, because I've not really been that kind to it. Now it's a good looking car, it's comfortable, it rides well, it's got a good amount of grip, it's not too bad in the corners, but yet it's still missing something. It just needs that spark, it just needs that kind of youthful edge to it. I feel like Nissan is close to getting this car right, but it's not quite there. Visually, it's definitely an improvement compared to its previous models. This car looks pretty striking, and when I first saw the pictures, I thought, oh hello, are you sure that's a Micra? And it is a genuinely good looking car. Well, in my opinion anyway. I know looks are very subjective, but it just doesn't drive how I was expecting it to based on its looks. So I'm back at base now, so let's wrap up. The new Nissan Micra. It does have its plus points, but for me, it's not the super mini I would buy. It looks fantastic, and I think Nissan has done a very good job in regards to the styling, but it's not as dynamic as cars such as the Ford Fiesta or the Seat Ibiza. But a big thumbs up for Nissan for making this car look much more dynamic. So in that regard, it is a winner. Anyway, I am back, so I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe for more car obsession.